When I first woke up in the hospital, I couldn't feel my legs. The sterile white ceiling above me felt like it was pressing down on my chest, and the beeping machines beside my bed mocked me with their mechanical rhythm. The doctors' voices were calm but laced with pity when they told me the truth. I was paralyzed from the waist down. My husband, Daniel, stood by my side, holding my hand, whispering words of comfort. But in his eyes, there was something else. Not fear, not sorrow, something colder. At the time, I was too broken to notice it. Weeks later, when he came into my room and said, "Alma, I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce," it felt like the floor had been ripped from under me, even though I couldn't feel it. That's when the story changed. That's when my quiet suffering became a silent war. Because what Daniel didn't know was that I had a secret will, and it would change everything. Before the accident, my life had been simple but fulfilling. I was a primary school teacher in Kumasi, Ghana. I loved my job, my home, and my husband. We had been married for 8 years, and though our marriage wasn't perfect, I thought we were a team. Daniel worked as a building contractor. He wasn't the most affectionate man, but he was dependable, or so I thought. We didn't have children yet, but we had been saving for IVF treatment. I believed he was in it for the long haul. Then came the accident. It happened on a rainy Thursday evening. I was coming home from work when a truck swerved into my lane. My little Kia Picanto spun 3 times before slamming into a concrete barrier. I remember the deafening crunch, the smell of smoke, and the strange silence that followed. I woke up 3 days later with steel rods in my spine and the news that I'd never walk again. In the hospital, Daniel was attentive at first. He brought flowers, held my hand, and told me we'd get through it. But as the days turned into weeks, his visits became shorter, his smile tighter. One evening, while I was still in rehabilitation, I overheard him outside my room talking to his sister. "ESI, I can't handle this. She'll need care for the rest of her life. I'm still young. I can't throw my future away like this." The words sliced through me. By the time I was discharged, things between us were tense. Daniel avoided my eyes. He claimed work was too busy for him to be home often. He left meals in the fridge and disappeared for hours. Then, 2 months later, he walked into my room, sat on the edge of my bed, and said the words I'll never forget. "Alma, I want a divorce." At first, I thought I misheard him. My heart pounded so hard I could barely speak. "A divorce? Daniel, I need you now more than ever." His voice was cold. "I can't live like this. You're not the woman I married." That night, after crying until my chest ached, I called my lawyer, Mr. Kusi. I told him everything. What Daniel didn't know, what no one knew, was that 2 years before the accident, I had inherited a small plot of land from my late uncle in the eastern region. On that land sat a cocoa farm that brought in steady income. I never told Daniel about it because my uncle had made me promise to keep it in my name only, for your security, child. It wasn't just land. It was my lifeline. But there was more. 6 months before my accident, I had drafted a secret will with Mr. Kusi. In it, I had made provisions for the farm to go to my younger sister, Adwoa, if anything happened to me, not to Daniel. When I told Kusi that Daniel wanted a divorce, his tone sharpened. "Alma, don't say anything yet. Let's play this carefully." Daniel's demeanor changed after he filed the papers. He became strangely polite, almost performative. He'd ask about my health, offer to help with my rehabilitation, and even bring me small gifts. At first, I thought maybe he regretted his decision. But then I caught him one afternoon rummaging through my desk drawers. When I asked what he was looking for, he said, "Oh, just your medical reports. For the divorce proceedings." But I knew he was lying. A week later, I overheard him on the phone in the living room, whispering, "Once the divorce is finalized, I can sell the land and we'll be set. She doesn't need it, she's stuck in a wheelchair." My stomach twisted. So, that was it. He had found out about the farm. The next day, I called Kusi again. He knows, I said, my voice shaking. Let him think he does, Kusi replied. He doesn't know the will exists, and that it excludes him entirely. We'll wait until the court meeting. In the meantime, Daniel's mask began to slip. His patience with me evaporated. He left me alone for long stretches, sometimes without food within reach. When I asked for help bathing, he grumbled as though it were a chore. One night, I woke up thirsty and realized the water jug was out of my reach. I called for him, but he didn't answer. After 20 minutes of shouting, I heard the door open, and in walked Daniel with lipstick on his collar. I said nothing, but inside, something hardened. The court date arrived 3 weeks later. I wheeled myself into the small chamber beside Kusi. Daniel was already there, wearing his best suit, pretending to be the grieving husband forced into an impossible situation. When the judge asked if there were any disputes over property, Daniel's lawyer confidently stated, "Yes, Your Honor. My client is entitled to half of the farm located in the eastern region, which is marital property." I felt Daniel's eyes on me, waiting for my panic. But instead, Kusi stood and said, "With due respect, Your Honor, that land is not marital property. It was inherited solely by my client before the marriage and is protected by a will drafted before this case, a will in which Mr. Mensah is not a beneficiary." Daniel blinked. "A will? What will?" Kusi placed a sealed envelope on the table. "This will, Your Honor." The judge opened it, read the contents, and nodded. "Indeed. This property is excluded from marital assets. Mr. Mensah has no claim to it." Daniel's face turned pale. After the session, outside the court, he pulled me aside. His voice was low, almost a growl. "You planned this, didn't you?" I looked him dead in the eye. "No, Daniel. I protected myself. There's a difference." That night, I returned home, to my own house, not his. My sister Adwoa came to stay with me. We made jollof rice together, laughed, and for the first time since the accident, I felt safe. But deep down, I knew Daniel wasn't finished. A man like him doesn't lose quietly. And something in the way he looked at me in court told me this story was far from over. The first week after the court hearing was strange. Daniel didn't call, didn't show up, and for a moment I thought maybe he'd accepted defeat. But quiet from a man like him wasn't peace, it was the sound of plotting. On a rainy Saturday evening, as Adwoa and I sat watching a Nollywood drama, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Daniel standing there, holding a bouquet of red roses and wearing the same smile he'd worn when we first met. "Alma," he said softly, "can we talk?" I almost closed the door in his face, but curiosity and caution made me let him in. He sat opposite me, his eyes full of fake sincerity. "I'm sorry for everything. I was scared. I didn't know how to handle your accident. I thought leaving was the best thing, but I was wrong." I folded my arms. "And what changed your mind?" He hesitated, then looked down. "Seeing you in court, you were so strong. I realized I still love you." The words sounded rehearsed, too smooth, like lines from a bad movie. I didn't respond. Then he leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I also realized we could still build something together. That farm could be our future. We could expand, make more money." There it was. The real reason. I let him talk, nodding occasionally, while inside my anger boiled. He spoke of us as if he hadn't tried to discard me like broken furniture. He spoke of our farm as if he hadn't been humiliated in court. When he finished, I smiled faintly. "Daniel, if you love me, you'll leave me alone. Permanently." His smile faltered. "Alma, I'm giving you a chance. Don't make me your enemy." You already made yourself my enemy, I said quietly. The day you tried to take from me what you didn't earn. 2 nights later, I woke to the sound of rustling outside my window. My heart pounded. Adwoa was asleep in the next room, so I grabbed my phone and switched on the flashlight. In the beam of light, I caught a shadow moving near the shed at the back of my yard, the same shed where I kept my farming documents and records. I called out, "Who's there?" No answer. The figure bolted. I called the police immediately, but by the time they arrived, the intruder was gone. The only thing missing was a file containing old financial records from the cocoa farm. I didn't need a detective to tell me who it was. The next morning, Kusi called me. Alma, I've been informed Daniel is trying to file an appeal on the property ruling. He claims you're hiding income that should be shared. I laughed bitterly. He stole those documents. That's the only way he'd know about the farm's earnings. Alma, Kusi said firmly, this man is dangerous when desperate. You need to be ready for anything. That evening, I sat in my wheelchair by the window, watching the sunset bleed orange over the rooftops. My life had changed in ways I'd never imagined. Some days, I still woke up expecting to swing my legs over the side of the bed and walk. But if my accident had taught me anything, it was this: people reveal their true selves when life strips away comfort. Daniel had shown me his. And I was prepared to show him mine. Daniel's appeal hearing was scheduled for a Wednesday morning. By then, word had spread in our small community. Some pitied me, others whispered behind my back, but I didn't care. I was ready. That morning, Kusi and I arrived early. Daniel showed up 10 minutes late, wearing the same smug look I'd seen when he thought he'd already won. His lawyer carried a thick file, no doubt containing the stolen farm documents. The proceedings began. Daniel's lawyer argued that the farm's income was substantial and should be considered marital property, regardless of how it was acquired. He presented the stolen records as new evidence. I stayed calm, waiting for Kusi's turn. When the judge allowed him to respond, Kusi rose, holding a single sheet of paper. Your Honor, he began, we are prepared to demonstrate not only that this evidence was obtained illegally, but also that my client has taken additional steps to ensure her assets are beyond the reach of anyone acting in bad faith. He handed the judge the paper. This, Kusi continued, is an updated will and trust agreement. The cocoa farm is now under a legal trust in the name of my client's sister, effective immediately after the first divorce filing. My client receives only a lifetime stipend for her care, and Mr. Mensah has no legal pathway to access or control the property. Daniel's face drained of color. Kusi wasn't finished. Furthermore, the trust specifies that if any attempt is made to coerce or harm my client for financial gain, criminal charges will be pursued under the law. The judge leaned back, her voice firm. Mr. Mensah, your appeal is denied. And given the questionable acquisition of these documents, you are fortunate we are not discussing charges today. Outside the courthouse, Daniel caught up to me. His voice trembled with rage. You've ruined me, Alma. I looked at him, not with anger, but with a strange, steady calm. No, Daniel. You ruined yourself the moment you valued money over love. You could have been my partner, my comfort, my family. Instead, you chose greed. He stared at me, searching for something, regret, maybe, but found nothing. Then he turned and walked away. That was the last time I ever saw him. Months passed. My life began to take a new shape. I focused on my rehabilitation, learning to navigate the world differently. Adwoa managed the farm, and the income provided for my needs without worry. Some evenings, I would sit outside, the warm Ghanaian breeze carrying the scent of cocoa pods, and think about everything that had happened. I realized the accident had not destroyed my life, it had revealed it. It showed me who truly loved me and who only loved the benefits of me. It taught me that strength isn't always about walking tall, sometimes, it's about sitting still and holding your ground. Love without loyalty is just an illusion. When hardship comes, the people who stay are the ones who truly matter. And sometimes, losing someone is the only way to save yourself.